Rated M for mature.
Don't let your kids watch it!
Alright, so we're continuing tonight. End of chapter 7. So we'll see if we can get to the end of chapter 10 tonight. No promises, though. Anyhow, let's continue on. Gotta move my mouse. Boop, boop, boop.
Eh?
Alright. The good old headlight.
今、なんて
信頼できる筋の噂ですが、サトシ君のおば殺しの犯人が見つかったらしいで
Wait,
す。
it wasn't Satoshi, or did they find him? It had been a few weeks since the murder. Satoshi-kun still hadn't been found. I had no new information on his whereabouts. Kasai's report came, as a result, completely out of the blue.
それって警察が逮捕したって意味？
Ooh. You miss K1? You mean Keiichi? I miss Keiichi as well. Hey, X-Dude, welcome to the stream. Great to see ya.
聞いた話では、逮捕というより、別件で取り調べを受けていた男が余罪として自供したんだとか。
Oh, really? That sounded strange. If it was Satoshi-kun they arrested, he wouldn't have worded it that way. It sounded as though Satoshi-kun wasn't the culprit.
葛西、結局犯人って誰だったの？
It was the teddy bear. So it wasn't Satoshi-kun? I swallowed those final words. I was convinced that it was Satoshi-kun. The police and Uisi must have thought the same way. The reason Uisi approached me was because he was convinced that Satoshi-kun did it.
ご安心を。
Don't worry about it.
サトシ君ではないようですよ。連続開始事件を模倣した異常者の犯行
Oh,
と
just
いうよう
one.
な話みたいです。
Who was it?
はい？異常者？何それ？
Kasai shrugged.
さあ、何しろ今回の事件は秘匿捜査指定というものがかかっているんだそうです。なのでほとんど情報が出回らないんです。
Okay.
秘匿捜査？何それ？
連続開始事件による村への風評被害対策ということらしいです。
You smell forced involvement. Yeah, this stinks. This feels like he did it just to accept a plea bargain or something.
誘拐事件なんかでも犯人との交渉が行われている間は新聞に載らなかったりするでしょ。ああいう類のものらしいです。
Come to think of it, I hadn't seen anything about the aunt's murder on TV or in the newspaper.
何しろ4年連続で綿流しの日に事件が起こっているわけですからね。お社様のたたりだと騒いで面白がる輩も多いそうですし。そうそう、何でもそのおば殺しの異常者ですが、連続開始事件を模倣したくて行ったと自供したんだとか。
Kasai didn't know anything else, so instead of probing him further, I reviewed the information myself. I was really shocked to learn all of this. I was convinced that Satoshi-kun killed her. I thought that was the reason he had to disappear. But it was actually some lunatic who killed her, and he had no relation to the aunt whatsoever. Well, we know this is bunk. Because that's not what they said happened in the present time, right? So, Satoshi-kun had nothing to do with the murder? If so, why did he disappear? I couldn't accept that this lunatic had killed the aunt. And what's really strange is the phrase Kasai used 4 years in a row now. After all, I'd been thinking that this murder happened because Satoshi-kun had been in a dire situation, and that it had nothing to do with the series of mysterious deaths. It's too coincidental from the sensei's elephant in the room coincidence. What? I have no idea what that means. Phone just said sensei and not Shion? Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about, Shirley. It felt as though Satoshi-kun's case had become somebody else's. The series of mysterious deaths at Hinamizawa is also known as the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. Satoshi-kun's case had become one of those mysterious deaths. In other words, Satoshi-kun's case had become a part of Oyashiro-sama's curse. I didn't like the way that sounded, because it was as though the curse had swallowed Satoshi-kun. Yeah, and she already is like, I kind of fear the curse. Because she, like, technically left Hinamizawa. Oh, hey, bro. How's it going? Good to see you, Uisi.
例の東京行きの新幹線に乗ったらしいという情報も確認が取れないままです。正直なところ、 剣の中にいるのか外にいるのか、それすらも分かっちゃいません。
Luisi broke the seal on a new can of instant coffee.
あれだけ胸を張ってサトシ君が犯人だと息巻いていたから、もう行方をつかんでるとばかり思ってました。
Yeah, that is a very big coincidence that just some random guy was like, hey, I want to imitate the curse in this weird small town. But then again, what do you expect from a guy named Lunatic? Luisi, I didn't think my joke was very funny.
いやいや、情けない限りです。
Luisi chuckled and poured a cup of coffee, which looked far too hot.
しかし耳が早いな。
はい。
一口操作してだってのにどこの誰が漏らしてるやら。
Suspicious.
やれやれ。うちの傍聴も問題があるな。
Luisi smirked. It seems he knew why I was here today.
まあ腐ってもその崎の端くれですので、多少の噂は耳にできますということで。
I smirked back at him. It's all about bluffing.
まあいいか。腹を割り合った仲ですしね。いいですよ。おしゃべりしましょう。
まず聞かせてく
We
だ
are
さい。
kind of becoming buds with Uisi.
真犯人って一体何者です？
That's confidential.
異常者とか聞きましたけど、それってどういうことですか？
It was Lunatic.
どういうことって言われたってね。そりゃ私だって言いたいですよ。私はサトシ君が犯人の一点読みでしたから、ね。
Shion, don't say me too.
とんだ万馬券が飛び出したもんです。
Uisi threw himself on the sofa and crossed his hands behind his head. He looked up at the ceiling and smiled wryly.
先日ですね、県警の方から急に連絡が来たんですよ。すでに逮捕して取り調べをしている男が主婦殺しを自供したって。
One of the guys in detention. Was he already in detention on Watanagashi? Or is it like he went on like a crime spree and they're like, "Yeah, we got you," and he's like, okay, I killed the housewife. They're like, that's not what we arrested you for. Why would you do that?
それは何者？
薬に手を出したとんでもない野郎でしてね。
Uh-oh.
出所しては捕まるの繰り返しだそうです。
Oh no, it's Walter White!
ひなみ沢村連続開始事件が面白そうだったんで、4年目のたたりは自分が下してみたくなった。
Oh no.
どうかなんとか。
He decided to break bad and steal the money that, like, Satoko's parents left them. But he couldn't find it. So he just broke bad for no reason.
間違いなくそいつが
But
犯
guys,
人。
he totally did it for the family.
私が直接話を聞いたわけじゃないんですがね。
Also, I've never seen Breaking Bad.
先方が取った供述調書には、いわゆる犯人しか知り得ない情報ってやつががっつりと含まれていたんですよ。凶器を王子川のどこかで捨てたって言ってましてね。今はドブさらいの最中ですよ。
Ooh.
これで供述通りに凶器が発見されれば完璧でしょうな。
たとえ凶器が見つからなくても、おおむね確定。
Hmm.
確定でしょうな。現場の状況と仏の状況を正確に供述して。
Yeah, this is totally a setup.
襲った本人にしかわからないような細かいあたりまでね。
納得はいってないみたいですね。
Uisi, still looking up at the ceiling, went quiet.
実はね、その大バカだれ、
Ooh. This is a new song.
とっくに亡くなってるんですよ。うちに連絡があった時にはすでに。
Wait, the lunatic is dead?
亡くなってる？
給食とかに出てくるでしょ。
You mean a
先はレス
spork?
プーン。留置場の食事にもあれが出てくる
Aren't
ん
they
ですよ。
plastic though?
そいつを飲み込んで窒息したんだとか、
What?
自殺なのか錯乱なのか、ちょっと区別がつかないですがね。
I imagine somebody swallowing that spoon and gagged.
だから十分に納得するまで調べられたわけじゃありません。私は納得できないんですがね。上の方は十分に納得しちゃったようでした。
Yeah, that makes sense. The superiors are just like, well, he confessed, so why would he lie about that? Like, open and shut case. And Uisi's like, no way, man. There's some more going on. Because he's been studying the cases since they started.
どうもその愉快犯が主婦殺しの犯人ってことで決着しそうな流れです。
I wonder if... Did the guy in question have reptile eyes? Uisi turned his eyes from the ceiling to me. He looked serious. No, he didn't. He has the same dopey grin on his face that he always does.
他の誰にも内緒ということで。
It's very kind of you to have your own personal theories sharing with this random, like, teenage girl who might be related to the crimes.
私はこの大バカたりは何かの間違いだと思ってます。
Yeah, this is way too perfect.
何かの偶然による壮大な勘違いか、もしくは。ねえ。
全然意味わかんないですよ、大石のおじさま。
Someone's silencing him.
私は今でも犯人は北条聡君だと思っています。
きっぱり言い切りますね。
残念ながら現場検証では犯人を特定できるような痕跡は何一つ発見できませんでした。聡君が失踪した後、家宅捜索の許可が下りましてね、家を改めさせてもらいましたが、
それでも聡君が犯人だと疑ってる。
ねえ。
Also, I cannot imagine going through this story without the voice acting. Because I want to remind you guys, the Steam version normally does not have voice acting. I installed mods to add the console voice acting into this. And man, like, it's so much better with it.
証拠もないのに、どうやったらそこまで人を殺人犯呼ばわりできるのやら。大したもんです。長年の勘ってやつですか？
ええ、この道で何十年も飯を食ってきた男の直感です。
Uisi smiled in satisfaction, but I didn't feel relieved.
聡君はどこへ？
聡君が失踪した理由の一つこそが彼が犯人であるからだと固く信じていたんです。聡君が犯人でないならそのあたりがかなり薄れちゃいますからね。
Fair enough.
おば殺しの犯人はその愉快犯で、聡君の失踪とは無関係。
Then you have to ask why he disappeared.
聡君失踪は私と聡君の仲を裂くために園崎本家がやったもの。おば殺しとは無関係という考え方は？
You wish Higurashi was a regular paperback novel? I'm sure there's a manga of it. Although, that would probably have pictures. If you just want the text, maybe good luck with that. Hey, Ruben, welcome to the stream. Great to see ya. It was easier to look back at past bits. I don't know. This way you wouldn't have to deal with the intense voice acting and visuals, potentially. Was Satoshi-kun a culprit or a victim? The reason for his disappearance had become unclear. Personally, I think Higurashi works very well in the visual novel media, and I feel like you would lose stuff if it was in a paper book form. Like the really intense conversation you have with Rena in Chapter 1, when like she first gets the reptile eyes, I don't think that would hit quite as hard in book format.
私は旧敵との恋仲程度で人一人を失踪させるなんてリスクを冒すとは思わないんですがね。実際園崎家の内部としてはどうなんです？シオンさんはそのあたり何かご存知？
How much are we gonna reveal?
知っていたらこんなとこに来ません。
ごもっともごもっとも。
Uisi laughed out loud while scratching his head. And after he stopped laughing, he leaned over.
よーし。なら一つどうですか？
I like Uisi, man. He's one of my favorite characters.
協定を結びませんか？
He's a bit of a lech. He's a bit of a corrupt cop at times, but it seems like he's a guy who's trying to actually put an end to like all of it and figure out the truth. So, and I like his like faux laid back personality.
紳士協定。
A gentleman's deal. Oh boy.
協定？何のです？
サトシ君失踪事件捜査情報共有協定。裏の界隈でサトシ君の失踪に関する情報を得られたら、もちろん私もサトシ君についての情報が入ったらあなたに提供します。いかがです？
なんだか一方的な虫のいい話に思えますけど。
Uisi chuckled.
シオンさん、このまま行くと主婦殺しの犯人はすでに死んでるその大バカタレってことで確定すると思います。そうなると サトシ君の扱いは単なる家出人になります。つまり積極的な捜査は打ち切られるということです。
True.
ですが私だけは続けます。私だけはサトシ君の行方を引き続き探します。シオンさんも私もサトシ君の行方を探しているという点では一致してると思うんですがね。
目的が全然違いますがね。私は単に無事を確認したいだけですから。大石のおじさまにとっては逮捕が目的でしょうから。
主婦殺しが決着すればサトシ君は無実ってことになりますよ。
That's also true.
真実はどうかは別にしてもね。
怪しいもんです。
Uh-oh. Oh, he's got a suspicious look. Luisi chuckled again, but his smile didn't reach his eyes.
まあ今後も仲良くやりましょう。敵の敵は味方とも言いますしね。
別に私、園崎本家と敵対しているわけじゃありませんよ。
なあ、本当に？ならそりゃ失礼。
This is just a way of Corrado Uisi, huh? As Sis and Kasai said, I wouldn't want him to be as my enemy or my ally, because both would be too risky. I probably shouldn't let my guard down in front of this big fat weasel. I sipped on the coffee to fill up the silence, though I wasn't thirsty. Outside the window, I could see normal life taking its course. But Satoshi-kun wasn't there. He should have been there, but he wasn't. I was scared that I might grow used to his absence someday. Where was he? Yeah, I wouldn't want you to be independent.
サトシ君はどうしてるんだろう。
無事だといいんですがね。
チェ、生きてる可能性は薄いとか思っているくせに気休め言わないでほしいです。
サトシ君の失踪、ひなみ沢じゃなんて言われてるか知ってます？
Being demoned away.
え？
鬼隠しにあった、
Yep.
なんて言われてるんだとか。
Boom. To be demoned away means the same thing as being spirited away. It's part of the local dialect.
鬼が淵沼の底の鬼の国にさらわれたって？バカバカしい。
とにもかくにも連続開始事件もこれで4年目です。
Yeah, the fat weasel, he's... Again, he likes Hooters a little too much, and he definitely was like, hey, how about you give me some of the taxpayer money to help me cooperate with you, but in Chapter 4. So he's a bit of a lech, but I like him. He's competent.
気の早い話ですがね、来年もまた起こるんじゃないかなんて、もう囁かれてるんだとか。
おば殺しがお社様のたたりのせいだって言うんですか？
全体的に見てみれば仏も北条家の一人。ラム戦争の戦犯と縁がないわけじゃないですからね。しかもまたしても綿流しの日にとなれば面白がる連中が現れるのも無理もないことです。
バカバカしい。何がお社様のたたりだ。
Though I said that, I couldn't quite wipe away the fear from my mind. Why did Satoshi-kun disappear? Was it the Sonozaki family? Did he run away from the police? Did he really kill his aunt in the first place? Why did he even disappear? He's on his own. Oyashiro-sama's curse had nothing to do with it. But... That's strange. Satoshi-kun and Oyashiro-sama's curse. Somebody once mentioned those two together before. Rena. When did I hear that? Oh, that's right. That rainy day. It was Rena Ryugu who told me that when we were taking shelter in that shack. I remembered the creepy story she told me at the time.
サトシ君は心のどこかでひなみ沢を捨ててどこかへ逃げ出したいと思ってるから。
That's what Rena Ryugu said. Rena had definitely pointed out that Satoshi-kun wanted to leave Hinamizawa at that time. She also said,
サトシ君が体験していることはすべてお社様のたたりの前触れなの。
She said that, for sure. She had definitely mentioned Oyashiro-sama's curse. The series of mysterious deaths has struck 4 times. Was Satoshi-kun being controlled by the curse? Is that why he killed his aunt and was demoned away? No way. That can't be true. Satoshi-kun's smile faded away in my mind. Satoshi-kun disappeared. Not only that, the reason for his disappearance also disappeared. It must have been done by human beings. I can't accept that he was demoned away. Notebook page 43. We should tell Luisi about our conversation with Rena. It might give him a lead. You're genuinely sticking by Satoshi doing the Keiji thing in Chapter 1 when he scratched his throat. Oh, when Keiji went into the phone booth to call Luisi and then just tore his throat out. We never really got an explanation as to why he did that, other than that he was just going crazy. But we never really got the explanation of why he was going crazy. I moved from one chair to another because the air conditioning was too cold. I moved with my notebook, my pen case with a bunch of keychains, and my cup of milk tea. I did it all in one go. I sat down in a new chair, then opened my notebook again. I scribbled my thoughts and sank into silence. The series of mysterious deaths, dubbed the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. I've been viewing each incident as a separate case, even though it was followed by another one. I've never looked at all the cases as part of one big scheme. After I wrote down all the incidents on paper, it became clear to me that all of them served the same agenda. I wrote down the victims. The first year, the construction site manager. The second year, Satoshi-kun's parents. The third year, the priest. The fourth year, Satoshi-kun's aunt. For the fourth year, one could consider Satoshi-kun himself to be the victim rather than his aunt. If I considered that each case arose from the grudge over the dam conflict, it's quite simple. In the first year, the construction manager was killed because he was a symbol of the dam construction itself. Of course, the real enemy was the Ministry of Construction, but it wasn't as clear of a target. That manager, on the other hand, had been aggressively shouting back at the villagers, so he was a more appropriate enemy to attack. If Oyashiro-sama had really cursed someone, it would have been the officials from the Ministry. It's apparent that the target was selected based on the villagers' preference. The second year. The accidental death of Satoshi-kun's parents. It's said that they fell from a cliff in some park, but it's doubtful that it was really an accident. His parents were labeled as traitors to the village because they sided with the dam construction, even though they were also from Hinamizawa. The Hojo family was ostracized during this dam conflict in order to prevent further pro-dam activists from rising up. That means that the Hojos were necessary during the conflict to play the role of the traitor. So when the conflict was over, they no longer served any purpose. The construction site manager was a symbol of the external enemy. The Hojos were a symbol of the internal enemy. Those people fell victim to the curse, and it seemed that the grudge over the dam conflict had ended. Yet those incidents were followed by another one. The third year. The leader of one of the three families, the priest Furude, suddenly died of an illness with an unknown cause. His wife drowned herself on the same night. Do we know for sure that she drowned herself? She seemed to have left a note that said she was sacrificing herself to pacify Oyashiro-sama's anger. Whether it was a fatal disease or suicide, their deaths looked suspicious. Mion admitted that the Sonozaki family didn't like the priest's attitude. They didn't like how the priest had been generous towards the pro-dam activists. The priest wasn't quite a traitor, but he was certainly uncooperative. Looking at these incidents, I realized that the curse was performed based on the degree of hostility: enemy, traitor, and dissident. This meant that the curse was actually payment. It was a punishment for the criminals of war. And the fourth year. I didn't understand this case at all at first, to be honest. At first, I believed that this case was separate from the other ones, even though it occurred on the same day. I never thought that there would be any relation to the other three. But when I wrote it down and looked at it objectively, the victim is a relative of a traitor. After enemy, traitor, and dissident, relative of a traitor doesn't sound too odd. It comes naturally as a fourth target. But then why did Tomatake get killed in the next year? Because he had nothing to do with any of it. He was like a tourist that occasionally came for the festival and like took photos, but he didn't live in Hinamizawa. And he was just killed by his girlfriend. We don't even know why she did it. She's just insane. On the day the villagers worship Oyashiro-sama, the guardian deity, the criminals of the dam conflict have been punished by the curse. Just like how I was forced to pay at the Sonozaki house, the criminals were made to pay as well. After writing these things out, I started thinking that the fourth incident might be in line with the series of mysterious deaths after all. Whether it was Satoshi-kun or the Dopehead, it seemed that they were forced to play the role of a murderer as part of a bigger scenario. Okay, I know Dopehead is referring to like him being a crackhead or like a drug addict, but man, it just sounds like a juvenile insult. You Dopehead! You so dopey! Even if Satoshi-kun is the real culprit, even if he killed his aunt because of an ordinary grudge, The murder seems synchronized with the grand scheme of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, which is a payment plan for the war criminals. That murder was the result of his pain. But what if somebody planned that as part of the scenario? For instance, somebody might have suggested to him he kill his aunt on that day, that night, at that place. I had no doubt that Satoshi-kun decided to kill in order to protect Satoko. But did he really reach that conclusion on his own? Satoshi-kun was optimistic and somewhat detached, as far as I know. Would he have really considered murdering his aunt, even if it was to protect his sister? Did Tomitake get cursed because he was a tourist? Was it literally just a fight gone horribly wrong? I don't remember. I played Chapter 1 like 3 or 4 years ago. Couldn't it be possible for somebody to have chosen the aunt as the 4th year's murder beforehand? And they used Satoshi-kun? And if Satoshi-kun was eliminated because of his connection with them? Looking at it that way, the murder of the first year resembles the case. The main culprit behind that case hasn't been found yet, dead or alive. The other culprits testified that their fight had turned into a slaughter. But wouldn't it be possible that the main culprit had manipulated the situation? What if he had been told to kill someone on that day, at that time, and in that place? I'm certain. The first murder resembles Satoshi-kun's case very much. So, did that mean Satoshi-kun is being controlled by somebody else? Uisi had presented me with a hypothesis that the Sonozaki family made Satoshi-kun disappear in order to end my relationship with a murderer. But when I read the notes I wrote down, his disappearance didn't seem too spontaneous. It seemed like part of a bigger plan. Since I'd unexpectedly gotten involved in that plan, I had to be separated from him. Then Satoshi-kun was demoned away as planned. At first, I also believed that the Sonozaki family made him disappear because they didn't like that I was in love with a member of a family of traitors. But something didn't add up. Something felt strange. I wasn't the reason for his disappearance after all. Even if I never met him in the first place, Satoshi-kun was supposed to kill his aunt in June of 1982 and then disappear. At one point, I had been thinking of taking revenge on the hag. I'd believed that she separated us. But what if my relationship with Satoshi-kun had nothing to do with his disappearance? What would that mean? Who made Satoshi-kun disappear? I need to understand this series of mysterious deaths in order to solve this mystery. What did all these deaths mean? Who was behind them, and what purpose did they serve? I wanted to know the purpose, the motive, and who was responsible. Who took Satoshi-kun? I wanted to know if he was still alive. The series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa is also called Oyashiro-sama's curse. What is that curse? Specifically, what kind of god is Oyashiro-sama? What blessings does he bring and what punishments does he dole out? I wrote down my thoughts in the notebook. What's Oyashiro-sama? What is he? I scribbled these things down. I was so absorbed by it that I didn't realize somebody had been standing behind me, watching me the whole time. I couldn't stop myself from gasping when I realized that. Ah!
ごめんなさい。
Why are you here? Oh, nope. Oh, we in trouble now. It's the crazy girl. I like console art style for Takano.
驚かせちゃったかしら？
Hi, I wasn't expecting you. Of course she's reading about our notebooks. She's obsessed with Oyashiro-sama. The intelligent-looking woman giggled.
いえ、びっくりしただけです。こちらこそ場違いな大声を出してすみませんでした。
White woman jump scare? A little bit. She could have apologized a little better, too, since she'd been watching me from behind. But she just stared at my face instead.
あなたが園崎紫音さん？私の名前を知ってて、私が初対面ということは、お姉の知り合いか何かですか？
Yeah, how do you know that I'm Shion? Being twins is a pain sometime. Some people you've never met before can tell exactly who you are.
ごめんなさいね。私の知っている園崎さんは図書館なんかに来るような人じゃないから。
Aren't we at the police station? Or did we go to a library instead?
噂に聞いた双子のシオンさんかなと思って。
When did you learn that she actually had a twin? I thought nobody knew until we announced it, like 2 days ago or whatever. The woman giggled again.
お察しの通り、私は園崎シオンです。どうもはじめまして、こんにちは。失礼ですがどちら様ですか？あら、ごめんなさいね。自己紹介がまだだったわね。
She seemed to love her own hair because she kept running her fingers through it boastfully.
高野美代美代って呼んでくれていいわよシオンちゃん
Sorry, but your character profile says Takano, so that's what I'm referring to you as.
お気遣いありがとうございます高野さん
Her condescending attitude bugged me. The caterpillar drawing means it's not the police station. I didn't know if they just reused assets. They do that a lot. I hate meeting people like that. I closed my notebook and got ready to leave the desk.
あら怒っ
She's
て
like, no, I was just getting to the good part.
ご検察痛み入ります私は一人で考え事をするのが好きなんでよそへ行かせていただきます失礼しますごきげんよう
残念ね私たち話が合うと思ったのに
Mm-hmm.
そうですか私は会うとは思いかねますが
だってお社様のたたりについて研究する同志に出会えたんですも
If
の
there's a lunatic who would just kill randomly because of Oyashiro-sana's curse, it would be Takano.
貴重な出会いだと思うんだけど
She saw my notes! My face reddened.
これは私のそう妄想みたいなものデタラメです子供の落書きなんかほっといてください
お社様のたたりと呼ばれる一連の連続
Yes,
開
we've
始
been
事
told
件
this multiple times, Takano.
いずれの事件も個別に見えながら確実に一つの意思に基づいて行われている
That is, yeah. Surprised at how subdued Shion is. You expect her to flip the bird at any adult bugging her. Yeah, I mean, she'll probably get to that point. Give her a year.
毎年一人がお社様のたたりにあって死に
は何を急に言い出すんですか一人がたたりで死んで一人が何ですって
I was taken aback by her weird spiel. But I realized right away that she'd said something extraordinary.
南沢村連続開始事件の犠牲者が常に偶数人数だってことはあなたも気づいてたんじゃないそれともまだそこまでには至ってなかったかしら
The number of victims is always even. I was confused, but I tried to figure out what that meant. The damn construction site manager died in the first year. There was only one victim. In the second year, the victims were the parents of Satoshi-kun, so it was 2 people. In the third year, it was the priest, and if her death was also planned, his wife, 2 again. And in this year, the 4th year, Satoshi-kun's aunt died and Satoshi-kun went missing. But those were on 2 different days. Satoshi-kun didn't go missing until a couple days afterwards. If Satoshi-kun's disappearance was planned, the number of victims was 2. It's true. Except for the first one, the victims always came in an even number, 2. Wait. I had just concluded myself that the first case resembled the 4th one. The main culprit was still missing. He might have been demoned away, just like Satoshi-kun. Maybe Takano in Chapter 3 was a one-off incident. If anything, Takano is painting a target on her back by being so interested in this stuff. I'm pretty sure she... Actually, okay. Well, thinking back. So in Chapter 3, we basically got confirmation that she killed Tomatake and had his body stuffed in the trunk. But in Chapter 1, she didn't stuff him in the trunk. In Chapter 1, he, tore his own throat out, and they found his body. So either Takano in Chapter 3, for some reason, decided to keep the body in the trunk, or after she dropped Keiichi off and it's like, hey, we never met, she intentionally dropped his dead body somewhere so the police could find it. Huh. I'm also still trying to figure out what is exactly causing the difference in the timelines, because there has to be something that causes the different actions, because otherwise it would be the same every time. If I spat that out correctly.
ねそうでしょ
Takano-san sounded like a teacher who had showed me how to solve a difficult math problem. I wasn't quite convinced, but I couldn't deny what she'd said either.
ヒントはこのくらいでいいかしら二人で存分に語り明かしたかったんだけどあなたが孤独を好むなら仕方がないしね
失礼な口の聞き方をしてすみませんでしたミオさん私のことはシオンと呼んでください
She seemed content that I changed my attitude. She kept giggling for a while. She didn't seem that reliable. I didn't want to be acquainted with her for too long. But I don't get to talk to people very much. And what she said interested me.
改めて自己紹介するわね。高野美代よ。美代って呼んでくれると嬉しいわ。
よろしくです、ミオさん。私は園崎シオン。ミオンの双子の妹にあたります。シオンと呼んでください。
I took the hand that Mio-san held out as a sign of reconciliation.
さっきの話を聞かせてください。二人犠牲者が出ると言いましたね。一人がたたりで、もう一人が、生贄とか言いましたか？
No, surely. She was not burned in the mountains in chapter 1 and 2, because in chapter 2 we got the bombshell at the end where Uzi's like, by the way, she faked her own death. Like, we realized that the burned body that we thought was her was not actually her. So, she faked her death at the very least in chapter 2, and I'm pretty sure she fakes her death in the other chapters as well. Probably to continue the curse and to get away with killing Toмотake.
ねえ、シオンちゃん。このお話で盛り上がる前に、どうしてこの話に興味があるか聞かせてもらってもいいかしら。
She leaned over and looked into my eyes. It was kind of uncomfortable.
ミオさんこそ、私のことをどこまでご存知です？ご存知なら、おおよその見当はつくんじゃないかと。
さあ、何年か遠くの全寮制の学校にいて、最近沖宮に戻ってきたとしか知らないわよ。
そうですか。
Oh yeah, I escaped from the terrible cult of the Catholic girls' school. Or
じ
at
ゃ
least
あ
what I
想
thought
像
was
つ
a
きます
cult.
よね。私がいない間に起こった連続開始事件。私はよくわからないので調べてるんです。ちょっとした興味本位で。
なるほどね。興味本位でね。
I get the impression that she knew about what happened to Satoshi-kun and me. Because she instantly recognized me as Shion, not Mion. Well, you also are missing 3 fingernails, so I didn't know why why I thought that way, as she shouldn't have access to the sources that, for instance, Suisi does. It was just the look in her eyes that made me think that way.
ミオさんにも聞きます。さっき私のことをお社様のたたりについて調べる同志と言いましたね。なぜたたりなんか研究してるんですか？そして連続開始事件の犠牲者は偶数人であることも言い切りましたね。ひなみ沢連続開始事件は確かに通称でお社様のたたりと呼ばれています。なぜたたりを研究すると連続開始事件にまで踏み込むことになるのですか？
シオンちゃん、質問が一度に多すぎるわ
One
ね。
at a time.
それに何が聞きたいのかややこしくて分かりにくいわ。
Ooh. I couldn't say anything in return. Maybe I'd been too inquisitive.
順に答えるわね。私が研究しているのはたたりじゃなく、もっと講義。鬼ヶ淵村の風俗史よ。平たく言えば古代ひなみ沢村の知られざる歴史、暗
Onikafuchi.
黒史について研究しているの。
鬼ヶ淵村？鬼ヶ淵って鬼の国につながってるっていう村の奥にある底なし沼のことですか？あと知られざる歴史暗黒史って何です？
Well, she can't tell us about it now because she told us about it in chapter 2 and we didn't know, and Shion didn't know about it in chapter 2. I kept asking questions. Mio-san, however, looked pleased to hear them.
鬼ヶ淵村というのはひなみ沢村の明治以前の名前よ。暗黒史というのは人食い鬼の歴史は
Sure. Ah, the man-eating demons, huh? That was a fairy tale told in Hinamizawa. A long time ago, demons came out of the swamp while the villagers battled with them. They ended up living peacefully together. The villagers transcended and became a sacred people, having demon blood in their veins. That long-forgotten fairy tale came back to my mind vividly.
ひなみ沢に縁のある人なら誰もが知ってる
That's some
当たり前
Nephilim
の
level
昔
stuff
話よ
going
ね。
on.
ではその半人半鬼の仙人たちが
何の話ですか？
村人たちの体に半分流れる鬼の血は鬼は鬼でも人食い鬼の血だったって話は聞いたことない？
ああ、まあそんな話もありますね。
I dodged the question. Hinamizawa used to be a desolate village, but it grew in prominence after the Second World War and expanded its influence to Okinomiya and other areas. The people who disliked and discriminated against the villagers called us man-eating demons. I remember that. The young villagers don't take it seriously, but the older people can seriously get upset about it. They certainly can't take it as a joke. So the term man-eating demons is forbidden. We normally never use it. Even during my rebellious phase, I never spoke those words. Mio-san, however, seemed to have no qualms of saying it out loud.
気に障った？
何がですか？
人食い鬼って単語を意味嫌う村人は多いからね。気に障ったなら謝るけれど。
Oh yeah, if there's one thing Takano really cares about, it's not making other people uncomfortable. That's why she told us all the dark stories in the torture bunker.
年寄り連中は気にするらしいですけど、まあ私はそんなには気にしてませんので、それより続けてください。
ありがとう。じゃあ続けるわね。古代の村人たちにはね。
You know, as you do.
Takano
the rage baiter. Yeah, she definitely seems like somebody who would post rage bait.
そしてその食人の儀式を様式化し、さまざまなセレモニーや文化、風習を生み出したと言われて。
Man, we've gone a long time without getting it to be continued.
私たちが6月のお祭りだと思っている綿流しだって、本来は犠牲者をさらい。食べるために行う食人の宴だ。
Yeah, that's what Watanagashi used to be, right?
彼らはね、犠牲者を高速台に縛り付け、お魚をおろす時みたいに腹綿を引きずり出して、それを川に投げ捨てたとされている。ほら、魚の腹綿って綿って言うじゃない？
It's cotton drifting or organ drifting.
それが語源よ。綿流しの。
綿流し。
Wait, so Shion already knows about this? I thought for sure that when she told us about this in Chapter 2, Shion didn't know about it. So is this a separate timeline from Chapter 2?
そう。
I really thought this was going to lead into Chapter 2.
お布団の綿なんかでごまかすようになったのは、私の研究では明治の頃からじゃないかと思うわね。まさかこの昭和の時代にそんな恐ろしいことが堂々とできるわけもないのだし。
Yeah, exactly. She in Chapter 2, she tells Shion this again, and Shion definitely reacted like she didn't know about it. Everything Mio-san was talking about sounded startling. I was just taken aback. I couldn't wholly believe it right away. She sensed that from my expression.
もちろん、思いつきなでっち上げなんかでは断じてない。
Like, Takano, are you, like, writing your college thesis, like, for your PhD on this really obscure topic? Is that why you're obsessed, or are you just weird?
誰にも見せないって誓うなら、綿流しのあたりの研究ノートを見せてあげてもいいけど。
She's planning a 10-hour YouTube deep dive video essay as a magnum opus. Mio-san took out a notebook from her bag and flipped through it. She appeared to be doing her research thoroughly.
ありがとうございます。お借りできるものなら、後でゆっくり読んでみたいと思います。
本当は。閲覧厳禁の秘密ノートだけれどね。
I bet you would. Okay, she looks significantly less sinister in the OG art style. Like, she actually just kind of looks cute or, like, a little derpy. But, like, here she's like, you better not tell anyone or I'll kill you.
研究の同志になら特別に見せてあげてもいいわね。
Mio-san handed me the notebook a bit hesitantly. It looked like it'd take the whole night to finish reading. It was densely packed with information. I saw copies of various documents and quotes in there too. It wasn't just some delusion of hers.
一番最初にミオさんは言いましたよね。毎年の事件で一人がたたりで死に、一人が生贄にされて失踪すると。
A person is sacrificed and disappears. Satoshi-kun had gone missing. Did he become a sacrifice? What is a sacrifice anyways? The remake, she looks like a snake. A little bit. Takano looks amused in the OG art style. She's more like, man, am I embarrassed to have this notebook. Or actually, wait, let's see what... Here she looks happy, but in this art style, maybe it's because she's turned away, or maybe it's her eyebrows. There's like a sinister edge to her laugh. Here she just looks cute in the OG art style. She's like, oh, I'm so happy you like my notes. Also, by the way, I've got a club on my sash. Here I think is the best mix of the two. She looks a little too sinister, I think, in the new art style. But this one does the sinister and, like, wholesome very well.
読めばわかるけど、かいつまんで話すわね。
Please do.
お社様のたたりとは、簡単に言えば、お社様の怒りのこと。お社様が怒ったら、罰としてたたりが起こる。それはわかるわよね。
一応わかります。ダム戦争で村に敵対した人間たちにお社様が怒り、たたりが起こったと。そう
ね。でね、お社様のたたりというのは、
It has to be every year. Even though, ignore the fact that it only started 4 years ago.
もっともっと大きなたたりを。
She looks like a sinister ex-girlfriend. Yeah! Well, that's kind of what she is. She killed her boyfriend, so she is the sinister ex-girlfriend.
だから神職であるフルデ家の歴代当主たちはお社様のたたりがあるたびにそのお怒りを鎮めるために生贄を捧げる必要があった。
Oh, they're saying every time somebody dies, they have to demon someone away, huh?
それを生贄の儀と呼ぶみたいなんだけどね。
じゃあつまり毎年綿流しの日にお社様のたたりで一人死んで、そのたたりを鎮めるためにさらにもう一人を生
But
贄
that
に
doesn't really make
して
sense. If one person dies because of the
So
curse,
you
aren't they dying because of the curse because of Oyashiro-sama's anger? But he's like, no, I'm so angry, you also have to kill someone else. It's like, bruh, chill.
でも一
Bro,
人し
I'm
か
a
死んでませ
demon,
ん
you
よ現実
idiot.
に。
I don't chill.
生贄に捧げられたなんて聞いたこともない。
死体が出ないのは当然よ。
Takano's the kind of girl detectives would look at it and think, nah, it's too obvious. Takano is the kind of girl that nutcase guys would look at and be like, I can fix her. And that's what Tomatake said, and look what happened to him. You need to pacify your god, you need to kill the god's mascot. I don't know what was going on with Rika getting disemboweled in chapter 3 and 4. And not in chapter... Well, no, she died in chapter 2. She just got disemboweled. No, she didn't get disemboweled. She got just murdered by Shion. And in chapter 1, nothing happened to Rika. So that's a little strange.
だって生贄の儀式は犠牲者を鬼の
That's the fandom.
鎮めることなんだもの。
Why am I not surprised? You see, it's like she killed her boyfriend. It's like, yeah, but she's hot, so I can fix her.
あの沼は一度沈めば二度と浮き上がることはないと言われる底なしの沼。
Well, didn't they mention in chapter 4 that, like, in the Furide family, like, whenever there's, like, a girl born as the firstborn, like, 7 times in a row, they'll be reincarnated as Oyashiro-sama, and, like, that's supposed to be Rika? Which is part of why all of, like, the old people are like, oh my gosh, Rika's the best! Because, like, they kind of think, like, oh, she might be Oyashiro-sama. And, like, Rika's mom was like, there's something weird going on with, like, the villagers and, like, Rika. You can fix Tomatake. Tomatake doesn't need to be fixed. He's just a cool dude.
死体なんて出ようはずもない。
じゃあ毎年のもう一人の犠牲者はみんな沼の底に沈んでると。
Does that mean Satoshi-kun is also at the bottom of that dark green swamp? What are you doing in my swamp?
本当に沼の底に沈められているかはわからないわ。
Who do I think would be the perfect Hollywood actress to be Takano? You were asking the wrong guy that. I don't know, like, any Hollywood actresses, because I don't really care about Hollywood.
でも連続事件を起こしている人たちがそれを意識して一人を消していることは間違いないと思うわね。
Each year, a traitor to the village dies on the day of Watanagashi because of Oyashiro-sama's curse. And another person is sacrificed in order to pacify Oyashiro-sama's anger. That person's body will never be found, because he or she is supposedly thrown into the bottomless swamp.
そう。つまり、ひなみ沢村連続開始事件というのは、たたりと、それを鎮めるための生贄の
That
2
means
つのセッ
in
トにな
chapter
ったもの。
3, the victim of the curse was Teppei, and the person who got demoned away was Teppei's motorcycle. Because we drove it into the swamp.
そしてそれを毎年繰り返すことによってダム戦争時の旧敵を毎年2人ずつ殺していけるシステムのことを指しているの。 私の話は省略しすぎてるからね。多分ちょっと信じがたいとは思う。だからこそあなたに預けた研
Can I
究ノー
borrow
トをね
them?
内容を理解できたなら私の話がそういい加減なものでもないことがわかるはず。
I heard a man's voice just then. A middle-aged man with a hat was waving at Mio-san from the entrance.
ごめんなさい。待ち人が来たみたい。
Yeah, why did you come to the library?
もっとゆっくり話がしたかったのに。でも機会はまだこれからもあるでしょうしね。そのノートはそれまで預けておくわね。
We just can borrow
中
them?
身をよく読んで理解できたなら私のいい話し相手になってくれるのを楽しみにしているわね。
Mio-san wrapped up the conversation and headed to where the man was waiting for her. She left her old notebooks in my hands. That's... wow, she literally just left all of our notes for us. Now we can make the 10-hour deep dive YouTube video and take away her credit. Wow. You were thinking Scarlett Johansson just because she's blonde, but she's also too attractive? Takano's actor needs to be a mix between cute and attractive, and good at being creepy. This shouldn't be hard for Hollywood actresses to do. She waved at me as she left the library with her companion. Oh, we won't know if it's Tomatake, Shirley. Sorry. You'll have to use your imagination. Maybe every year she gets a new boyfriend. This year's model is called Kronk. I took a seat again and opened what she'd given me. What bugged me was the series of mysterious deaths, also known as the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. Maybe I'd be able to get closer to the truth by reading these notebooks. Bro, when are we getting it to be continued? We're almost an hour into the stream. We usually get one every 30 minutes or so. If I study them carefully, I might be able to find out who was really behind the incidents. Why did Satoshi-kun have to disappear? What was he involved in? How did that happen? Maybe Takano's notes would bring me the answer. Research notes. Mio Takano. I started flipping through the pages, this time making sure that no one was watching over my shoulder. It should have been me, not him!